Welcome back to one more round of what have you. I'm Rachel Jankovic.
Once more into the breach.
Yep, and that's Becca Tuggan.
That's me over here.
Quoting the
Yonder.
classics. Yeah. Here we are. Here we are, and I said, Becca, let's do it earlier today so that we don't just want to fall asleep. But by the time we started to execute on it, I am ready to fall asleep right now.
It could happen.
I'm heading out.
It's kind of
I'm going to make a personal goal of not yawning on air.
Now that you say that, we're both going to be there.
Concentrate, not yawn.
We are Friday afternooning in the mid of the afternoons.
Yep. And we're getting windows in our new house, which
exciting.
is uber exciting.
It's very exciting. I need to see them. We'll have to zip out there and look.
Yep. You know, God was kind to us on this in many ways, but one of them is that all along I've wanted black interior and exterior windows. It's a very traditional house shape. It's not like it's nothing, it's not modern. It's not, it's just, so it's like colonial.
I was about to say, it's not an Andrew Lloyd Webber house, but what I meant was Frank Lloyd Wright.
Also not an Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Those with Lloyd as a middle name.
It's neither of those. It's not like that, but it's a pretty traditional-ish house shape. So they're traditional shaped windows, not like big modern grids or something. You know, we don't have that thing going. Anyways, all along I wanted black interior. That's what I was sure I wanted. But for some reason I kept feeling like I needed to think about this some more because there's nowhere I could walk in and see how that, or I didn't, and there probably is, but I don't know of it.
Somewhere.
But where I couldn't see the windows in the space, I thought that's what I would want. And I wanted it because I think you need to know all my reasons, I'm sure. The views are really good from our house. So I wanted the windows to not be in the foreground all the time. When I didn't want them to be like, white seemed to me like it would be jumping out and getting in the way.
Also, though, I'm a big believer in a black outline on things for defining and making crisp and clean. And that is exactly a black outline.
It is a black outline. But I have to say that I was full of, when they started putting them in, because the two semis come full of windows. It's not like this is the kind of purchase you make that you can easily switch out later. No. We have purchased windows for a lifetime. We bought the windows, and so as I was running out there to see it, I had this real time of like, now it's my turn to love whatever we're getting. Like, whatever came out of the box and got put in there
time to not
is what I wanted. Like, I'm not
double-minded man.
Yes, and I was unstable in all his ways. And so as I was on my way out there, I'm like preparing my heart, like, just to be thankful and to not be weird about it if I wasn't liking them. But then I didn't even need any of that. I loved them upon first sight. I was like, yes.
That's good.
Yes, it's good. Well, it's because God is really kind.
I myself am working on black windows, but I am not having two semis delivered with black windows. I am chipping along slowly through my house. So I have some black windows. So from the outside of my house, we've got a weird medley of here and there is a black window.
Starting to yawn.
Rachel's getting
roll down the window and get some cold air here.
Anyway, as I go through the house, getting the old pulleys working again and getting the windows reglazed if they're cracked and whatnot. I have been making them black as I go, and the ones that I have done, I really like. Which leads me to the praise report that, guys, I'm finally done with my co-room.
Woohoo!
Indeed, woohoo!
Round of clapping and cheering.
Yeah,
if we did sound effects, we would do that.
If I had a party hat, I would put it on. But we'll have to throw a little video up. I ordered, the final thing was, I was making myself finish everything in there, like all the details. Then I ordered all of the switch plates and outlet covers and stuff because I wanted them to match the rest of the hardware in the house, which is all like really beautiful hinges and doorknobs and actual cool things. So as I finish your room, I will then do that. And I got them ordered. They're not in, but
congrats.
They're ordered. I know.
Congrats on that.
But I didn't want to order them and having them all sitting in a bag somewhere.
Because for 12 years. Yeah.
So I'm just doing them little by little, and they're like those old, they're like replicas of older ones. So I'm sure they won't match exactly,
No,
but they'll
but
at
that's
least
fun.
look like they live in the same house instead of a plastic one right there.
It's nice.
That's my
I
excitement.
myself am going to have switch places that belong in a plastic house. Then I can chip through the rest of my life.
I also ordered new actual outlets that are black because all of the old outlets in our house are black with brass plates. And so the places we'd rewired, we had just done white. And then I realized, hang on, that actually, I'm changing them. So we've got black outlets coming and those push button light switches.
Oh, yeah.
Because the entryway had push button light switches, and then when we got it rewired, it's just a regular switch one. But I was like, no, I want the old mother of pearl ones. So they're like mother of pearl push button switches.
You know,
can
the
see
thing is
why
that when
I
it
didn't.
takes you that long to redo an entryway,
Yeah,
it's
too long.
how long was it
Too long.
since you started?
I think since we
Like,
actually
when you
gutted
started
it,
on the floor. It's at least 2 years, wasn't it?
Not since I started on the floor. No.
When you first ripped out the
No.
floor.
Oh, like gutting the whole front
Yeah.
room? So, it's been 2 years since we gutted it. Like, we had a huge hole in the front. Like, okay, it was so funny.
We had like a gangplank
Between our front door through the entryway into the main front of the house, we literally, you had to walk a plank for a little bit because it was just a hole between the front door and the next room.
to like the ground.
Yeah, just drop shoot
Just a hole
in there.
down to the dirt down there.
So you had to balance your way across the board to get in. That was only, to be fair, that was less than a week that we had it like that.
Yeah, but it's been a long time. But my point is,
Yeah.
when it's been a long time, you have to really delight yourself in the details.
You've earned
By the time,
mother of pearl push button switch.
treat yourself.
By
Treat yourself.
golly, I'm worth it, Rach.
Self-care.
This is me loving myself. Surround
I'm
yourself
going to make a little collage
only
of
with-
Becca's outlets and push button things and say, this is me loving myself.
Surrounding myself only with things that make me
Delight
happy.
you. The things that delight you are the only ones you should allow
So
into
I'm
your
going to
life.
basically live my life in that front entryway.
It's a good
'cause
idea.
If I go anywhere else in the house, it doesn't
It doesn't delight
me.
you anymore.
It doesn't spark joy.
It stops delighting me.
Actually, it does spark joy. It makes me really happy that my kitchen is torn to bits. It really cracks me up. Anyway, but I am happy that my front is no longer
That was.
torn
I
to
feel like
bits.
we just had a really odd little reveal in there. That. I feel like you let a little something slip. You just let it. It does spark joy for Becca that her kitchen is torn to bits.
There's a definite personality type that happens here because I am so much happier with the kitchen right now as it is, which is half torn up ugly brick linoleum with some turquoise showing here and there. Rafters on the ceiling, wires fluffing out from around, bits of it not insulated, some weird
I think this is really interesting
wallpaper.
because
Weird wallpaper on the chimney in the corner. Now, here's why it makes me happy. Beforehand, when we were renting this house, it was this ugly, terrible 1950s kitchen that had like a layer of grease on the cabinets that just, you can't even. It's just like smoke stained and
Right.
greasy and dark, and those old spongy acoustic tiles and a dropped ceiling and a little Harvest Gold oven, and you knew that there were mouse droppings of the ages above that ceiling. It was just kind of like, ugh. And when we gutted it, my life cleared up. It was like, this is better because it's in process. And because now we're working on it.
I think that you would rather have people know that it's not what you like than suspect.
That maybe
that
I
you'd
wanted
like
it.
it.
Well, no, it has nothing to do with if anybody else came in or didn't. It's just me. I like knowing that like we're moving, we're doing something. This is in process. I don't know. It's like I can cope with it
This is
more.
my sister who, when confronted with the problem of our chimney at our new house, suggests I teach myself masonry. And I say, no, I cannot. Luke won't let me. It's a
Right.
no. It's a no-go.
I actually today was like, should I drive back around the block and take a picture of that chimney to show Rachel?
Yeah,
Because
she tries
would like
to
it.
lure me into all
Bricks
of the...
aren't that hard.
Okay, wait. I think what you just said there is wrong.
No, it's not wrong.
Yes, it is wrong.
It's a thing
It is
people have
wrong.
done for many centuries.
Yes, but like full-time people who learn it,
who
not
knit,
me.
who weave, who spin things.
Not the same thing
It's
as
the same
a
thing.
incredibly tall chimney.
But here's, guys, in my defense, I was not suggesting that you create a fully masonry chimney that you have to like engineer the smoke part. The chimney, guys, is already framed in. All she would have to do is slap a layer of brick out
all
around
I would have to do is slap like 27 feet of a brick chimney onto the house.
It goes fast, Rach.
My husband would say, no, you may not.
I was like, Rach, think of the chance.
Also, I'm pretty sure our contractor would throw himself in front of me and keep us from... I don't think our contractor would enjoy my work.
Well, you could be like, come out and help on the weekend.
Yeah, that's what he wants to do.
I'm like, Rach, you who like Argyle patterns in knitwear, think what you could do with a brick.
Well, nope. I draw a line somewhere, and it's not early. Where my line is
I
far
draw a
along
line
the path.
somewhere, too.
But I don't think anybody really cares about our crafting endeavors. So,
No, not really.
So, let's talk about something people care about.
Well, I care about chimneys, but it's all right. We can press past that.
All right. Press past it. Oh, we were laughing right before we got on. I posted another Department of Hell No that includes...
I just saw it. And guys, if you haven't seen it...
It includes the
Hold on.
snippet from a Mary Oliver poem. Becca's looking
I might
it up.
have, like... Am I turning off the recording? You look it up. Do you have your phone?
No, I left it in the house.
Well, if I minimize this, I don't know if we're going to be able to get it back. Hold on. Everyone, hold that thought. Just a second. I can't tell. Oh, it is. It says it's still recording. That's kind of official and exciting. All right. So here's the worst thing you've ever heard, guys. It's a quote that says this. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let, you only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. That just sounded like you were going to go into Werewolves of London.
Yeah. Ooh,
Which actually would be strangely applicable.
Yeah, but the thing that we were laughing about is that the soft animal of your body needs some negative feedback.
The soft animal of your body
You
should
do not
be sent
just
to
let
boot
that.
camp.
Yeah, you didn't. And I think it needs also someone to give it some negative Yelp reviews
And some swats.
Poor performance from the soft animal of your body. It has been being remarkably. Okay,
the soft
this
animal
brings something up to me though that is connected, and we've talked about this before, but why does everyone who sets out to encourage everyone not give a qualifier? Like, if you find a thing that comes your way that is like, you are an amazing mother, you are a beautiful human who encourages all around her, you are, like, they're shipping this out to your grumpy neighbor, they're shipping it out to the murderer in the, like, there's no like, if you've done these things or if you succeeded in this, then you've loved someone.
I still am stuck back on her metaphor there of the soft animal of your body.
I looked up the old I looked up the poem that it came from, that quote came from, and she's a talented poet in a lot of places. This, I think, even for the message she's trying to convey, is an awful line. Like, it should have been edited away.
Well, I just can't help but picture the soft animal of your body being like the awful, scummy drain clog.
Yeah,
that you fish out.
You know what happened to me? Somebody posted on a GIF of a fat squirrel stuffing nuts in its mouth, saying this is what I would be like, but from a distance, that little thing, I thought it was our picture of the slugs from the bad slug time. And that's That's what kind of evil doing deed it calls to my mind.
Okay, so our sink, I don't think I've said this on the podcast. This was only like 10 days ago. Our sink in our bathroom was backing up. Like, where it would drain uber slowly, which is disgusting, because then anybody who brushes their teeth in it or whatever, and then you run out the door to school, and then there it drains so slowly that you just get that despicable coating on the sink, and there's nothing you can do to clean it, because the minute you use the sink again...
Finish this, but then remind me that I meant to say something about this.
Okay,
go back.
We'll circle back to that.
Do.
Anyway, this sink it's dusty pink too, to add to the ambiance here, because it's an old sink. We haven't gotten to the bathroom yet, guys. We haven't gutted this one, so it's still in its original dusty pink format, and it doesn't have a drain, like a metal, what do you call that part, the thing that would cover the pipe, like just the little mesh thing, or like
a stopper,
like
thing?
A stopper, or
right.
Even a grid. It's just a hole into the pipe. So many a toothpaste lid has accidentally shot down the hole.
Ew.
You know, so I
probably bobby pins too.
Probably, I suspected that there was quite a catastrophe of toothpaste lids in there, and it had just gotten to be one too many. So anyhow, Ben had to go down under the sink and take the trap off.
And when that gushes out junk in a bucket.
Yeah, junk in a bucket is exactly what it was. But guess what there was in there? Not
a toothbrush.
There was a whole toothbrush. It was a whole toothbrush with the toothpaste lid balanced on top of it and completely encased in disgusting hairballs. And that, dear friends, is what I picture when I picture what is the soft animal of your body.
Yeah, I have to say though, it's a great metaphor, because it is exactly how it happens when there is some big clog in your filters of some kind. Like, the systems are not working like they should because there is a sin in there that you didn't deal with. But how that makes things that aren't big swirl and swirl and swirl in your life, like there's no place to put them, because you don't have a good relationship to the Lord right now. And so because you have no way of getting the annoying thing that your husband said to just immediately be gone from your life, it is instead all sloshing around inside you with like, well, he knew, but it's typically that there is something objectively large stuck in the pipes.
No, it's like that toothbrush is not going to make the curve. It's not. It's just in there, and the only way to get it out is to disassemble the pipe.
Start over.
Or send a lasso down from the top, but we weren't sure what we were looking at.
But it's very common, and it makes me think, sometimes, oh, shoot.
She's yawning, guys. Give her a minute.
Okay, because of how often moms or people are so discouraged, and everything that's swirling around is very little.
Yeah.
But oftentimes there's just one little linchpin thing that needs to be handled, and then all the little things look suitably little.
Yeah. Get the Lego spaceship out of your toilet.
Yeah. No, but sometimes it's just simply realizing, I'm not being thankful.
Right.
And all of a sudden.
Or it might be, I'm hanging on to bitterness from years ago. I'm
obsessing about what someone thinks about me, or I'm angry, or just as though you were growing pot in secret, you're growing roots of bitterness in secret with the special lights of obsessive internet posts that you shouldn't be reading. Things.
Gotcha.
And I want to say this, actually. Sometimes I'm shocked by the amount of fevered pitch that Christian women can get about things that are not that's like Monsanto or vaccines or like controversial topics of things, but that you can be downright flipping out about stuff that you should not be and it is like that you're putting grow lights on it, you're reading all the conspiracy theories, you are fueling this little fear, you are like, I've got to be an activist and tell all my friends about this, and I've got to get really, like, when I go to people's houses, I'm going to look through the cupboards and tell them how many things have some of the 12 deadly ingredients. I keep getting that one ad.
Tell me that you made that one up.
The 12 deadly ingredients?
Going and looking in their cupboards.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that's been done.
Probably.
I was like, are you offering me something that has corn syrup in the ingredients? Did you do that? And it's so funny because it becomes it's like your little secret grow lights on something that you should not be growing.
I think that if you feel tender about, like, maybe breastfeeding versus bottle feeding, like, you feel really opinionated about it.
Well, like, to the level that you would have a meltdown about someone saying someone else shouldn't have nursed in a restaurant.
Or saying someone else definitely should have nursed in a restaurant. You know, whichever side that you're on that, I would suggest that maybe you just don't read any more articles.
Ooh.
Don't post any more articles.
Novelty.
Maybe stop feeding that little frenzy monster.
Yeah. Maybe decide that in the grand scheme of things, like, if you had a chance, here's a good meter. If you had a chance, since last week was our great episode of I Could Have Been a War Bride somewhere. Concubine, not a bride. I could have been a war concubine somewhere, which I liked that ending to it. This week it could be, what would I have to talk about with an early Christian? Like, think of someone in Rome during the persecution where Christians are being eaten by lions for entertainment. And if you got to sit down,
burned as torches for Nero's garden parties.
Yeah, in cages, right? They were put in, like, kind of like a bird cage and burned
to light the party
with burning Christians. And you think, could you sit down with one of those people and be like, you don't even know how bad it is. People have sexualized breasts, and I'm not allowed to nurse at the library. Or have you heard about the devastating presence of some corn syrup in our canned crushed tomatoes? Whatever it is, the point is not that you shouldn't care at all about anything,
because you have to make choices.
You care about it, but there are things that I will intentionally choose to not keep thinking about, and it kind of reminds me of that simple question about should you get involved in drama, which is, am I part of the problem or am I part of the solution? And if you're neither, then it's not your business.
Pass by on the other side of the road, in fact.
Yeah. But most of my concern with those things is that we live in a time that is so luxurious that Christians are confused. Like, we're losing track of the fact that this is still a real simple thing going on. Like, we have all these other, like, that there's really still only light and darkness in the gospel. Like, that there still is your faith. It's not all these little subdivisions. Like,
but we are believers in drawing a line in the sand about stuff. Like,
true.
You're doing your Instagram posts.
I just texted someone about this. Drawing the line in the sand is more about being clear about what we actually believe than it is about picking random fights.
Yes, but I'm just saying, like, I think that the thing is that there is a clear place to draw the line, not back down, and just really be there on that line.
If you're a person who's... Oh, sorry, finish that.
But I just mean, like, there are other lines maybe not to defend, maybe not to get thrown out.
Well, no, because it's not a to-the-death gospel issue.
No. And when
societal normalities around breastfeeding is not
a gospel issue.
Yeah.
No. But when people make it into that big of an issue, it does become a gospel
Yeah,
issue.
because they're cutting out people from fellowship over that. Yeah.
You're essentially excommunicating people from your round of...
If they differ with you.
If they differ with you
if somebody says, actually, I think women should still be modest when breastfeeding, you're like, they're not a true believer.
Right. And
This person is out of the fold.
Right. And so then the issue then becomes really actually worthy of hard lines being drawn. But the line is, you shouldn't be drawing the line there.
Totally. I was just texting with someone about this. And there's no principled stand that you have to take where people will not go to great effort to make you feel like an uptight ninny about a trivial subject.
Yeah.
So even if it's very principled to the core, I believe I have to draw this line here, you will have moments of thinking, am I just being really bizarrely too wound up about this?
But we're also not saying don't care about anything if it's not a gospel issue, because of course you have to make informed biblical decisions.
I feel like now that
everything.
we kept using the example of breastfeeding, I will just tell you my position on it. Now,
why not?
Now that we brought this up,
been there enough.
This is my position. Then if anyone is offended by the concept of a baby nursing, that's their problem.
Yes.
Because God did that. That wasn't my idea. That was God's idea.
Indeed.
And if they're bothered by how gross of you to feed your baby, then I don't mind leaving them to feel that way. Like you may mind that.
Yeah.
You may, and I won't change my behavior. But if anyone is totally no problem with the fact of you feeding a baby, but in some way unsettled by the manner in which that's happening, that's the responsibility of the person nursing. Now, what I do, just to be clear, I've nursed babies in restaurants and in public places and in parks and hither and thither.
Oh, yeah.
But I just try to keep it completely decent.
Well, here's my thing. I have nursed 5 babies, and at no time ever was I confronted with the choice of
Nudity in public.
Or my child goes unfed.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that was.
But there are women
is.
who have a vested interest in being exhibitionists.
Yeah,
and that I do have
agree.
a problem with.
No, because it's unnecessary in the extreme.
It's unnecessary.
Yeah.
You don't need it. Why go there? What sort of weird like mountain is that to die on?
I don't know. I don't know why anyone wants to do that. And it is also abundant. There are abundant ways to nurse a baby that is not sharing the event with everyone. And actually
the baby much prefers it.
I'd like to speak to the fact that I've nursed twins in public.
Yeah.
And that, I'll tell you, has awkward moments. And one of the biggest, most awkward moments is that whoever is walking by you frequently would pull up short and stop and be like, what's going on under that blanket? Because there are 4 legs sticking out of the bottom of the blanket. Well, 6 counting mine. You know, they'd see multiple feet sticking out. And it was the time that you didn't want anyone to stop to try to overly analyze it, because I may have been holding the blanket in my teeth.
Yeah.
And someone's like, what? What is happening here? And I'm like, nice to see you too. Fare thee well. Go away. Awkward.
I just feel like there's a lot of people who have a strange need to take the show on the road in ways that nobody wanted. The thing that's
interesting to me about that is that it is less in its origins. It's more Mother Earthy than it is Father God celebrating.
No. Oh yeah.
And so I think that it's more, what is the influence here? It's some kind of our it's usually something very Mother Earthy going on. I think.
Oh yeah.
Now that we just touched on that, never intending to tell you my strong opinions about that, but we did.
We did. But we also think
there's room, in my opinion. I don't mind that people don't practice this all
but
the same
let's say
way
that you have somebody who's bottle feeding, and they're doing it because of very strange neuroses that they have. Now, that's too bad. And I do think, like, yeah, they should get over that. But is that the kind of thing that you ought to get out your war horns about? No.
Actually, I don't know if we're doing our most offensive episode ever. We might be.
Anyways,
moving on.
That detour.
Moving on.
Reversing our way back out of that subject.
Did we want to talk about friendship? We
Whoa.
said we were going to talk about friendship, and then zoop, we didn't. No? Did we want to?
Well, it's a bit inspecific to say friendship, but I mean, one of the things.
Becca, hone it in for us.
Why are you coloring on your finger?
Well, Becca, because I'm bored.
She's like really working on something on her finger.
Becca, did no one ever teach you thumb versus fingers?
Well, it is
my
a thumb, but
it's my thumb. Oh dear.
Anyway,
this is not our best episode.
Rachel's giving it 2 stars from Deer.
This soft animal of this podcast.
From
this one needs to go. Let's give it some negative reviews on Yelp. All right, I'm focused, Beck. I'm not doodling anymore. I'm focusing. Try to not yawn.
Okay,
still.
so we're talking about. We were earlier before we began recording talking about friendships, specifically with girls, but I think it like applies to women quite a lot. But just in the like, what do you do when there's problematic people all around you, or no one real great friend, or how do you handle people being tedious around you,
which they are wont to do. I mean, what if your friends just inexplicably go off on a breast milk tirade? And you really wish they hadn't,
and it upsets you a lot.
It upsets you, and you're like, why did you do that?
Why would you have done that thing and ruined my Etsy business?
Or when there's moments where where a friend is like, you would love this book, or you should watch this movie, and you watch it or read it with a lip curled the whole time, and you think, I could never see them the same way again if they love this. What's
up next?
We have nothing in common.
Well, I do think, like, I mean, you've got girls, I've got girls. She said she's done doodling, but she is not. She's now doodling on an old takeout container.
My doodle is so good that
anyway,
it's really worth it.
You've got girls, I've got girls, and friendship is the thing. Like, how do you teach your girls to be good friends? And I think that there's a funny assumption that you have to have a really good friend, and if you don't,
do you think we got that from Anne of Green Gables?
It, I think, frequently comes back to Anne of Green Gables. But there's this idea that if you don't have a friend like that, then something is wrong. You know,
right,
like,
that it's a thing that has to be corrected.
Right, and I think that that's actually really quite weird. You know, to think that you need to find a person who shares so many things in common with you. And if God has put one of those in your life, then that's fantastic. But that's really not
the goal.
It's
oftentimes, I think, people that it may be longer than you wanted it to be before you have a close friend, but your close friend may be your own children, or like that. Sometimes,
your family.
Yeah, that it's just not. It's not a thing that, if you think about it, if we were supposed to have a really close friend or a tight squad or your best, whatever, I think that we would have some words about that in scripture.
And in fact,
there would be an explanation.
There's a good bit of caution about choosing your friends, and the implication.
We should put in this hot tip of wasn't it Grandma or was it Granny? Grandma Greensides would always say, "Get to know everybody first, and then choose your friends." When you're in a new place or a new environment. So especially in a new class or a new school, like, don't commit your friendship anywhere. Like, what I mean by that is not don't be friendly, but don't sell out to a friendship right away, because the reality is it takes time to actually see people in context and
it's true.
Get to know if you actually would be good friends.
Yeah, And I think that if there's this feeling that you need that good friend, like you have to have somebody like that,
you'll
just
always be having drama about it.
Well, and you're too willing to put up with stuff that the book of Proverbs is pretty clear that you shouldn't put up with.
You might put up with it, but also you might be the worst friend to them. But if you're so needy of the friendship.
But I also think the implication in Proverbs is it would be better to have no friends than to have those friends. You know, like, if there are not good choices in front of you, it's best to refrain. And and I think that everyone, you know, especially if you have kids that are in a class where, you know, they just don't have that good friend. You feel like this is a big... Sometimes people can feel like it's an injustice. Other times people can feel like this is like things are not right in the world.
They think it's an injustice if other people in the class are having good friends.
Do have friends, yeah.
Yeah. If it's just not a good fit. But one thing I've had to tell people repeatedly in many different contexts, this has come up, when people get their feelings hurt because they were excluded from something that they wouldn't have enjoyed. They would not have liked to be there. And sometimes it's like, well, this whole group of my friends went off to do something that, like, you actually are aware that you would not enjoy their company there. And yet it still bothers you that they didn't want your company there.
Right.
And a lot of the time, you need to just be thankful that God did not call you to that. Because if he had called you there, you would have had to confront everyone.
Well, and my kids have had times where they either left something or they just didn't go in the first place because they're like,
why
I would spend the whole time trying to convince everybody that they shouldn't be doing what they're doing, and that would be not fun for me.
I would rather not go with them there than go there and have to be the conscientious objector the whole time.
Right. And
usually you're not invited.
And actually, one of my kids was laughing because it was like their friends were doing something and it was very nothing. It's not like they were all going out to do criminal things, but it was just sort of like, and then when they all get pulled over by the cops or arrested, then they'll all be in the middle with them and I won't be able to say, I was telling them the whole time.
I was there.
So
say no.
Shouldn't have done it.
I had one time, there was a group of girls, this was many moons ago in my life when I was not married or anything. It was a group of girls decided to go on some little vacay party, girl time, slumber party.
Those are frequently bad.
I grew up with our mother who firmly believed what her grandmother taught her mother. So this is old wisdom in our family, which is anything worth doing can be done before 10 o'clock. Meaning, well, why would you gather up all of the, girls, take them and make them stay up way too late gossiping and getting cranked off at one another to probably takes about 2 weeks to shake out all the drama that can happen at one slumber party. Slumber parties are not worth our business, in my opinion. We do not get involved in slumber parties. And I'm not saying I think it's a universal sin to have a slumber party. Family practice here is why slumber party.
There's just kind of like levels of foolishness.
Yeah, so this whole group of girls, and it happened to be, at the time, the group of girls that I was part of, not friend part of, stuck together with in other endeavors. Yeah. The entire group went without me to this weekend slumber party.
A weekend.
And
which is bound to be good.
One of my friends who was in that, and one, like a real friend of mine, said, "Oh, I so wished you were there. So many things wouldn't have happened if you had been there." Well, this is why I was not invited, right? There was a plan in place. There was a plan. And she was great about it. It was not like everyone was being villains. I have no,
Yeah, sure.
But the organizer of this event called me later and said, "Rachel, I need to apologize to you because I did not invite you." And I said, "Oh, that's okay. Like, you're under no obligation to invite me. It's a private party. You didn't need to invite me. I'm not offended.
It's not like
no worries
in the Bill of Rights.
No worries. I did not.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, this is not, no worries. Don't worry about it." She said, "No, I don't think you understand. I did not invite you. And I said, I know, and that's fine. Like, I'm okay with that. But she came over. She wanted to keep talking about it. But she was like, I still don't think you understand. I did not invite you because I did not want you there. And I was like, yes, as I understand it, you didn't want me. That's why you didn't invite me. And I'm okay with that because it was your party and I don't need to be invited. I left out the part. Secretly, I would have hated my life if I had been there. Like, had I been invited, I would not have gone, probably.
Yeah,
the whole situation was a dark doomsday thing. But she would not. It was like, I think it turned out later, I'm pretty sure the whole reason for the party may have been to not have me to it. And I think I was making it a dud in my non-freak out about not having been invited.
Yeah.
But had I been there, it would have been a miserable weekend of me trying to get everyone to stop being nincompoops about the boys or about whatever.
Right.
It was girls being dumb at girl time.
And I do think it's a good thing to try to be this way yourself, but teach your girls to be this way, of not always having your face pressed up against the glass.
The FOMO.
Looking at what everyone else is getting to do and looking at the parties they're going to and looking at the friendships they have and stuff. Just... like, if you have a good friend, that's awesome.
It said, don't look back, you're not running that way. And I always tell my kids, if you start looking, look to your own lane. Mind your own lane. Look to what's in front of you. Be thankful for what's in front of you. Whenever you start really looking at what everyone else is encountering in their lane, you will run into an envy tree. Just clean into it. Smack. Knock yourself out and have a concussion. Envy.
I also, I do think...
envy like a toothbrush down your sink pipes.
Exactly. Stuck like that. Gross business. But I do think that not having a close friend is just... it's okay.
It can be kind of tiring because sometimes you wish you had, but
But if your kids don't all, it's like, don't scramble to find one. Don't try to feel like you have to drum one up.
It's the same thing about, even though obviously friendship and marriage are not the same thing. But it's the same thing that if you really are wishing for a wise and godly friend, try being one. Right. Try being the kind of person that would be a wise choice for a wise friend to want to have as a friend.
Also, particularly with your daughters and when they're single or if you're single, I think that there's sometimes a weird expectation that you should be much closer to your friend than there's actually any healthy way of being. Because there's a lot of friendships that are too close and are deeply unhealthy. Because... if you were to get married, now
this
you
would
have
now
a third party who's inside the wall, sort of, that really shouldn't be inside the wall.
Don't have anyone in there.
Right. And I feel like just having healthy ideas about what a friend is there for, they are not there to know every single bit of your soul.
To know whatever it is that you were thinking of and to want it also.
Sure. Like your husband, yes. Not your girlfriends, not your Bible study group, not your weightlifting
Even so,
partners.
I think people put it in way too much emphasis on that in marriage also. Like as though your spouse is supposed to be some superhuman. I saw a thing, getting into a big topic here. There's a chapter in my book about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and he was a humanist psychologist. He's the origin of the whole hierarchy of needs, where the top of your needs, the pinnacle, is like when you it's like arriving at a person who really knows their place in the world. It's being self-actualized, self-actualization. Kind of like you've finally arrived, your pinnacle. But on the baseline, it starts with just your needs of sleep and food and oxygen. But then then it's like safety, shelter and more, it builds up. But what it has is this, and this is commonly accepted, used in college counseling all over the place, is there's a layer that is your friends and family, where it is as though you use these people on your way to self-actualization. Like, now you're ready. And spouses, that's a thing that people, this is why I think partly there's an enormous divorce rate. And that is because people are putting on their spouse. If you just think of any dumb chick flick, what they say you want in a spouse is like someone who would be your harshest critic and your biggest fan, and they'll drive you to be your best self, and they will accept nothing but the best for you.
But love you unconditionally.
Love you unconditionally. You'll look horrible and they'll still think you're amazing, but they'll somehow conjure you up to be the best self. It's an unbearable load to put on another human, to say that they should be doing all of these things to help me towards me feeling totally secure, me being totally that's their job, to be like a layer in my cake so I can try to get up onto the pinnacle up there that I'm trying to get to. And it's just as an interesting thing, because in that hierarchy of needs, right at the top is this self-actualization, which is where kind of everything is put right. You're right with the world, you know where things are. But it's so interesting to me that in the Christian worldview, that's what happens at salvation. We start there.
Yeah.
You start with God put you right.
Yeah.
And you begin there, and none of those other things have anything to do with keeping you from those
were not the foundation of your
that
joy.
Wasn't how you got there. This is and so for a Christian, everything you're doing is working out from having been put right with God.
Yeah.
And for the world, everything is working towards trying to get right with some, whether it's you or the world or God or whatever it is that someone's bothered by.
Which is this mythical thing, because it's like the questing beast where nobody can ever
and they
get
think,
it.
And they think that people have a different idea of what it is, and even Maslow thought that it was very few people will ever actually get there.
Right.
But it has this idea of, if you work hard enough, if you do this, you can keep building towards. And so we start lumping in all these things that are normal facts of human life. Normal tiredness, normal, things that are normal with being obstacles to our best self.
Yeah.
Like, this is keeping me from that, instead of things have been put right and I'm just working it out from here in all of my relationships, which makes a really big difference in a marriage to another human. That you think you're just working your salvation out, rather than the two of you are trying to work your way to some kind of a pinnacle.
Exactly.
You're not. And that's where you get all these weird things that everyone's always saying about, if someone's not helping you see everything in the best possible light, cut them out of your life.
Cut them out.
Get rid of them immediately.
Prune them out.
One thing you don't need is that toxic person who thinks you should do the dishes. Like,
who is your mother?
Yeah, toxic. Cut her out of your circle.
Exactly. But I think with friendship too, that can be a thing. If you're searching for the way to complete yourself, in a friend,
instead of thinking things are right, and then in every situation I find myself in, if God brings me a godly, fun friend, I'm still just working out my salvation into that point. I'm not trying to get anything from it.
Right.
Not, I'm still just doing what God put in front of me instead of. And sometimes those seasons of difficulty or loneliness are the things that are equipping you for later. Well, actually, always. Yeah. And it's equipping you
for... So sometimes we see it in hindsight, and sometimes we don't.
But it's equipping you for, oh, wow, it's late. I got to pick my kids up.
Yeah, we got to give your tip and we're going to go.
Oh, my tip. I felt like a really funny... another flashback of deja vu, because we're here at Mom and Dad's house. And I remember many moons ago, Mom having some kind of a gift card or something happened. I just remember Mom telling me delightedly that she had purchased a water hog mat, but she didn't really have to even pay for it. Somehow it worked itself out through something. They made a mistake on an order and credited her money or something, so she got a free one. But I remember Mom raving about the water hog mat. No, look at this. I got a water hog mat. But now I'm living in Mom's house and I just bought myself some water hog mats. And I am as delighted about them. I believe that I texted Mom a photo of the water hog mats at the same door.
That's awesome.
It's just...
Are they indoor, outdoor?
I
where
actually
did you
don't
get
know that,
them?
but they're industrial. I bought them on Amazon. They're like the kind that you'd have in the front of a grocery store.
Yeah,
or something.
yeah.
They're very industrial,
Well,
really absorbent.
Here's my problem. I have a covered porch, so I would really like to have one outside my front door.
Oh, it probably is
but
that way.
because of my tile, I really don't want one inside my front door.
That's
I
hilarious.
just want it outside. I may tire of my
my
tile.
word. Okay, so it's time for me to go pick up my children's.
Yeah, water
So,
hog, guys.
Water
Try
hog
that
mats. And actually, you should know that a friend texted me a screenshot of my book on Amazon with frequently viewed with. And it was the slippers that I recommended on here. Glare-ups. But I felt like I needed to tell everyone I bought the kind with the heel, not the one, because the one that's frequently viewed with my book is not the model
Not the
I
one.
recommend.
Okay.
But it's the same brand. I'm sure it's
I just
nice.
like that the metrics are probably confused. The people are like, how did this happen? What?
Why?
Yeah.
Why are slippers involved with this book?
Slippers
Well,
and
we'll
an
tell
identity
you.
book.
Pull on your glare-ups and read my book. All right. Till next time.
Have a good week.
Bye.
Bye.
You think of yourself now, and then in 4 years' time, what do you want yourself to look like? And is the education that you're considering going to help you get to that place?
When you're a student, you want to become like your teacher. You're going to become like your teacher. Looking at NSA beforehand, I knew I wanted to become like the men who are teaching here.
Fireman, husband, father, doctor, no matter where you want to go, NSA is just such good preparation for the person that you want to be.
If you want to be an effective Christian, you need to be able to lead and shape culture. If you want to do that, no matter what your occupation is, you need to shape yourself, prepare yourself as a person for that job. And liberal arts is, I think, the best education you can have for that.
To learn more, check us out online at nsa.edu.